Later this month, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is going to deliver his budget address. And the big question is how does he want to spend your tax dollars in the state of Illinois as the state sees increased spending during the Pritzker administration over the past 7 years, going from 30 some odd billion up to 55 plus billion, a $16 billion increase, 42% increase over that time. And all of that including tax increases and fee increases and a variety of other things. While the conversation continues at the Statehouse and preparing for the governor's budget address, and again, that's going to be February 18th. We'll be on the ground at the Statehouse to bring you the latest, so definitely like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell here with the Center Square. But before all of that, you've got some that are advocating for higher taxes on millionaires. Democrats earlier this week at the Statehouse, they held a news conference, several of them speaking. State Senator Robert Martwick, he says that it's important that people who are millionaires pay more.
If you live in Illinois, you pay a greater percentage of your income in taxes than almost anyone of any income stratus anywhere in the country. That's not right.
So Martwick trying to rectify the high taxes a lot of people pay in Illinois to try and say, hey, we need to increase taxes on millionaires to pay for the things that Illinois needs to pay for. More from others. This is State Senator Robert Martwick, State Senator Robert Peters. He as well is advocating for increased taxes.
We need to take the money from these ultra-rich billionaires and make it so less people have to go to a food pantry. Make it so a safety net hospital is able to stay open.
Again, more money they're looking to spend on certain aspects and different types of things that they can have in their communities. And they have increased taxes all of this time. And clearly you've got questions about the high tax burden, the property tax burden in the state of Illinois. Where that money's going, how exactly that money is being spent. Do we have enough audits? Are things actually being done properly? These are questions that continue to advance. While the majority party, they have a different take on this clearly. But is this something that's going to happen? Ultimately, what you have is the prospect that you're going to have more tax increase pushes from Democrats as they want to try to get the state's constitution changed, because Illinois' constitution has a flat tax provision in it, and that flat tax provision clearly says that you can't tax somebody's income more based on their income. It has to be a flat tax. So we've got that flat tax provision for individual income taxes, the corporate tax as well. But they're looking to try to, increase taxes some way or another to increase the revenue coming to the state of Illinois to pay for these priorities, they say. So next, we've got a state senator who also sounding off, Karina Villa. She is a Democrat from the Chicago area and says that it's time to tax the rich.
So we in Illinois need to be the adults in the room, right? We in Illinois need to tax those corporations and those billionaires.
What that's going to look like is the debates in the House and the Senate, where they're going to need supermajorities to pass that ballot question to the voters to say, hey, we want you to tell us to, yes, change the Constitution for a increase in taxes for millionaires, and that money could go towards property tax relief in the state of Illinois. We've got highest property taxes in the country. They also want to give half of the tax increase on millionaires to other things. So it's no longer, former Governor Pat Quinn's idea of all the money going from a millionaire surcharge to property tax relief. They want to split the funds up in different routes. So how is this going to play out? Of course, the budget address coming up February 18th. Is the governor going to push for this? Is he going to do as he did back in 2020 and push for a progressive income tax constitutional amendment that voters rejected? Now, that's different from what's being proposed now. Back then, it had certain rates for certain individuals on the income ladder. But when you get down to the possibility of taxing millionaires, that's just, what is that, 3% more for any income over $1 million. And that could impact some small businesses. That could impact, a variety of other operations, not just individuals. But obviously, this is all going to be part of the debate moving forward. Republican State Senator John Curran, the Senate Minority Leader, he held a separate news conference yesterday, and he was asked about the budgeting situation.
We just have a $2 billion increase in spending last year, but you saw the rollback on the health care for working age population for undocumented immigrants last year. And that was something that the governor in his budget address readily admitted that, that it was a mistake to go down that road and the state could not afford that. And so I think that process already started last year. I expect that to continue this year in this budget.
Now, is it going to be more cuts or is it going to be calls for tax increases? Does Illinois have a spending problem? Or does Illinois have a revenue problem? Obviously, these are age-old questions in the land of Lincoln and pretty much anywhere where you have tax collection and spending. But Curran also talking about other things Republicans continue to push for, including a change to the state's estate tax, the so-called death tax. That's something farmers have pushed for, and they want to increase the amount at which an individual passing their estate to their loved ones, how much the tax they have to pay if it's transferred. Right now, I think it's $4 million. If you transfer an estate like that, then it starts getting taxed. But they want to increase it to like $6 million, and that's to allow for family farms to be handed down to the next generation because, the farmers are land rich but cash poor. Well, when you're transferring assets like land, that's going to be considered on the balance sheet as cash, and obviously that's going to be taxed. So they want to try to change that. The governor said he's willing to do that, but legislators have to find, and this was last year when the governor said this, legislators have to find the lost revenue. Where are they going to make that up? Cuts? Tax increases elsewhere? Again, here's Minority Leader John Curran.
I would be anxious to sharpen our pencils, and I'm confident we can find the money to do that. Preserving the family farm, the generational family farm, is a top priority of the Illinois Senate Republican Caucus. Senator Joe Tracy has been a leader on reforming the estate tax to make sure multi-generational farms in Illinois are able to continue, which has been a bedrock of this state and really the Illinois economy. So if that's the challenge, be happy to take the governor up on that.
So you've got the question of the estate tax that could surface. Are we going to have that same conversation with the governor? Essentially saying that, he doesn't mind. It's just a matter of where they're going to find that lost revenue. But Republicans there as well, laying out what they want to see happen in other areas of state policy, including no cash bail. They want to make sure that they can narrowly change no cash bail to protect domestic abuse victims. They had a domestic abuse survivor there who had a domestic abuse situation. The individual suspect was charged ultimately after violating several orders of protection. He is now behind bars, but it was a long, tumultuous situation for this victim. So Republicans want to narrow down on domestic abuse allegations to ensure that individuals accused of domestic abuse, arrested for domestic abuse, are treated to the same effect of those who are kept behind bars pending trial because they could pose a threat to somebody in the public.
Under the Safety Act right now, the burden is on the state to show that an individual is a real and present threat to a person or the community. The person being the victim in domestic violence cases. What my proposal would do, it would shift that burden, and the accused, the individual arrested for domestic violence, would have the burden to show that they are not a threat to the victim, that their release would not pose a threat to the victim or the community at large. So it is that simple shift will ensure that each and every case is thoroughly vetted, heard and vetted by the judge, the independent arbiter in the criminal justice process, to better ensure that those that are a threat are actually held.
And Curran also saying that Democrats have suggested they're open to changes to no cash bail in the state of Illinois after the state became the first state to do no cash bail. Even after President Donald Trump threatening to withhold funding from jurisdictions that have no cash bail, haven't really seen that materialize quite yet. But you've got the question of the problems that have arisen from no cash bail being in place. And not too long ago, Republican House members from Illinois held a news conference talking about how local sheriffs are seeing the revolving door. They're picking up the same person for the same crime over and over again. It hurts morale. It causes chaos at the jails. Curran saying that if it's not going to be narrowly defined to address the issues of domestic assault victims, then what is the issue that's going to get Democrats to actually come to the table to talk and possibly pass revisions to the state's no cash bail?
The empirical evidence is clear right now with the rapid rise in deaths related to domestic violence. So if not this, then I would ask my colleagues on the other side of the aisle what?
Curran also was asked yesterday about the state's red flag laws, and that's the process of somebody getting an order of protection against somebody else, and the person with the order against them has to give up their firearms until the order is lifted. And there were questions about, the constitutionality of that, even questions the U.S. Supreme Court addressed, but not necessarily about Illinois' law, but still that red flag law in place now. And Curran says that there's something going on here.
Illinois' red flag law. I can speak for the county I predominantly represent, DuPage County, which has been the most active user of Illinois' red flag law. We count for about 40% of the petitions filed statewide. So it is not just what we pass here, but is really, it highlights the that shouldn't be. It should be more robustly used around the state. It really also is the implementation down the line. That's why it's so incredibly important when you're talking about tools for law enforcement that we get feedback from police and prosecutors about what would be effective, what can they actually use and carry out in implementation.
The issue of domestic violence,
Illinois'
I think,
red
will probably dominate the conversation of how to possibly reform the state's no cash bail system, but also you've got the ongoing questions of policies around red flag laws. All right, something else, too, that's kind of interesting is this spat over campfires. And we're going to go to a couple of press releases next for this story because it's kind of interesting just to see and read what people are talking about here. So we'll go to a news release from Darren Bailey's campaign. Again, Bailey's running for governor of Illinois. He's got the March 17th primary where he's going up against three others. You've got Ted Dabrowski. You've got Jim Mendrick and Rick Heidner. So Bailey putting this out, hands off our campfires. Darren Bailey, former state senator and candidate for governor, says just when everyone thought government overreach in Illinois could not get any worse, the far left is pushing legislation to require permits for campfires. New legislation, House Bill 459, would require individuals who wish to gather around a campfire to secure a permit and pay a fee of up to $5. The bill allows counties and municipalities to formulate their own regulations regarding burn permits and set up an online system for residents to find local requirements. It also introduces significant penalties with fines reaching up to $100,000 for burning without a local permit and up to $500,000 for burning on designated no-burn days without a permit. While Illinois families are struggling to pay the highest property taxes in the nation, our leaders are focused on making sure government's involved in your next campfire, Bailey said. We have a budget, billions in the red, and this is what lawmakers are worried about. I would say J.B. Pritzker and his allies in the House and Senate have run out of ideas, but they never have any good ideas in the first place. Bailey says he's committed to ensuring families can better afford life in Illinois. He says his blueprint for Illinois is about empowering Illinois citizens and ending the culture of corruption in Illinois. Campfires will be free to be gathered around at campfire with family and friends, and they won't have to check far-left extremist Democrats to do it. It's more freedom, less government. Again, that's from the Bailey campaign. Now, I didn't see when this bill got filed, but apparently it did make the rounds. And the person who filed the bill, sending out a news release earlier this week, responding to all of this, saying that there's misinformation about the bill. Here's the news release from State Representative Amy Murray Briel from Ottawa, a Democrat. She said that Seeing the influx of inaccurate news is very disheartening, especially when fueled by elected leaders who are bluntly ignoring the process of transparent government by spreading misinformation about this bill, perhaps to simply grasp at straws to stay in the news. This bill never was and was never going to be about limiting a person's ability to enjoy campfires or bonfires. I'll continue to be transparent, she said, as I correct this drafting error, something I cannot say the same about my counterparts. Due to these unchecked and inaccurate facts in news articles circulating, I believe it is my responsibility to provide clarification and emphasize my intent that inspired this bill. The legislative definition of open burns for House Bill 4459 is drawn from 70 ILCS 705/8.20, which falls under the jurisdiction of State Fire Marshal, not the EPA. Campfires and bonfires, for example, are not named in this statute and are unaffected by my proposal. It's important to note that the bill only impacts unincorporated areas and does not impose any new restrictions on municipalities or their existing authority to regulate fire protection. It simply gives these unincorporated areas the option to adopt requirements. This bill does not require, force, or incentivize any new rules for municipal fire protection districts. My primary intent is to provide our resource-strapped fire protection districts with better knowledge of where fires are occurring and their associated risks. This helps our firemen avoid unnecessary calls and wasted resources and ensures that they are best prepared should a fire spread and cause damage to other property, structures, or land. Additionally, it will help increase public awareness of no burn days, which is critical given the continuously worsened drought conditions. Last year alone, 3 open burn fires spread, causing over $2 million in damages. With that being said, I'm currently working on an amendment. Still, she says, I must thank everyone who's reached out to share their concerns and feedback. Moments like this show how integral community feedback has in the state of government and in the state government, and the necessity for all to have a seat at the table. I applaud my community for taking interest. This year is about putting the power back into the people's hands, she says. I'm proud to continued collaboration amongst community members of town halls, district events, and county meetings, and so on. All right, so interesting, we get this from time to time at the beginning of legislative sessions. There's a bill that surfaces, and people are like, whoa, I remember years ago, this was before COVID, there was a bill filed to ban gas-powered leaf blowers. And people were putting up, flags, hand off my leaf blower, or Gadsden flag with a leaf blower instead of the snake. So yeah, you get these types of things. We're early in the legislative session. It's probably not going to be the first bill that gets a substantial amount of pushback with legislators having to respond. All right, so that's just an overlook of some of the stuff that's happened this past week for the state of Illinois. And again, February 17th, legislators come back. They are set to hear the governor deliver his budget address February 18th. And then we get into the heated part of legislative session. So strap in and get ready. It is Illinois in Focus Daily with you each and every weekday morning here, only with the Center Square.